There was a good article yesterday on SB Nation regarding EV and Lance Lynn. I'll get more to the article in a bit. This is more addressing the comments afterwards. There were a couple of guys that were going on and on about the fact that effective velocity is not all that effective because it overstates the speed effects. And I want to be clear about a couple things. Number one, perceived velocity and effective velocity are not the same things. Perceived velocity is what that hitter thinks the pitch is. Effective velocity is what that pitch actually is. And by actually, I mean it's the actual reactionary speed. Because everywhere he throws a pitch, there is a contact point. Now, granted, you can change that contact point, but you can't make a perfectly efficient swing and make that and change that contact point and hit bombs. Like he's hitting this bomb in the middle of the plate down the left field line for a huge bomb. Now let's take a look at that. One of the comments was that EV is ridiculous because everybody knows that a good rotational hitter hits every pitch out in front of home plate. And the difference between the contact points is negligible. Well, let's take a look at this contact point because this one is very obvious. It's clear that that's the contact point. If he were to go all the way back to here, this is another contact point. This is in fact somewhere back in here when his barrel is square to the pitch coming in. That's the one that would drive that middle pitch right back up the middle and be 100% on time. So in essence, if he pulls this middle pitch down the left field line, he is slightly early. And you can tell also by the fact that he's might be just a little bit, not that he's not on the sweet spot, but if the sweet spot has a little bit of variance, he's leaning towards the end of the bat side of the sweet spot. So from a perfect perspective, he's actually a tiny bit early on this pitch. Now it's a bomb, so clearly it's not enough to cause problems. But I don't think you can argue that this is a contact point. This is a clear contact point because this is another place where his lead arm is completely extended, his front knee is locked out, his back foot is completely released. So not only is he rotating, but he's also has a distinct linear movement forward. And that's one of the differences between being 100% efficient and being just rotational. Rotational is overrated by itself because yes, if you spin on your back foot, you can make a smaller circle because right now he's making an enormous circle with that bat. And in that enormous circle, there are tons of places that possible contact could happen. He could even hit this ball a little bit further out in front and cue it off the end of his bat, and that's a contact point. It's not a good one, but it's a contact point. So every pitch has a perfect contact point. In this particular case, it's somewhere around here. Somewhere between the point where his barrel gets exactly square to the line that the ball should go on the middle of the plate to about there. And he's a tiny bit early, but it's still a bomb. If he were to hit this pitch all the way back here, as though it was on a tee, that ball would probably be a hard ground ball up the middle. But the point is that it's very clear that the ball can be made contact anywhere along this path. Now, if we're talking about fair balls, then this would be the first place approximately where he could hit the ball and hit it down the right field line. This one is going to go up the middle, and this one, the actual one, is the one that's pulled for the homer down the left field line. So let's do a little measurement and see if the effects of EV are significant. I'm going to measure his bat, and I'm going to assume that his bat is roughly 34 inches long. Okay? I think we can say that. In fact, let me go and change that so that it is 34 inches long. I don't know if he swings at 35. Oh, we're going to assume that it's a 34. Now, if this is contact point number 1 out in front, and this is contact point number 2, and this is contact point number 3, let's see, using this measurement tool, what the difference is between here and here. And I think it's roughly about 15 or 16 inches, somewhere in that range. And this one, about the same. Every 18 inches at 90 feet, the ball is going to travel in a straight line, but the barrel is going to travel in a circle. So to get from one point to the next, you don't just move your hands over, you continue the circle. And if you're going to hit bombs, if you're going to hit 30 or 54 bombs and hit well over 300, then you're going to make a swing that's both linear and rotational. And in order to do that, you're going to have to cover this much ground to go from one contact point to the next. There's no arguing that point. Of all the things that you're going to point out that are going to disprove effective velocity, this one is definitely not it, because this one has a definite ability to measure the distance between those two. So every time these contact points change, the true reactionary speed changes. So is there a perceived velocity going on? Yes. He perceives this pitch to be a middle fastball, or actually a little bit inside, because he's a tiny bit early. And he's very close to 100% on time. So yes, his perceived velocity was equal to the effective velocity. But what if this were an inside pitch and he made contact back here? His perceived velocity would be very wrong. The effective velocity would be still the same. You would still have to make contact way out in front, and he's making contact way back here. So those two different types of speed don't match up. What he thinks the speed is and what the speed actually is two different things. But make no mistake, effective velocity measures exactly the point of contact for perfect contact, not sort of okay contact, not stick your butt out and be early and hit this little bleeder ground ball down the third base line, or reach out and hit it extremely late and have a gork hit off of your handle and have it go over the second baseman's head. That's not what I'm talking about. In order to be 100% on time with 100% efficient mechanics, there's only one place in time, and there's a little bit of variance. He's a little bit early here. He could hit it anywhere in here and still be really close to 100% on time. But make no mistake, there is a perfect location for every pitch thrown. And depending on the speed of that pitch, the effective velocity is the true reactionary velocity of the pitch. And there's a U.S. patent that states that. And I'm pretty sure you can't just go down to the post office, get a few stamps, and oh yeah, I'd like a patent. I think they check those with guys like Albert Einstein, who used to work as a patent clerk checking on patents. Okay, so let's take a look at one more element here. One of the statements was every home run or every ball that's hit by a major leaguer is hit out in front of home plate. But let's take a look at this contact point, because this contact point back here, if we draw a line straight down, let's see, looks like it's on the back edge of home plate. And what would happen if you hit that one a little sooner? It'd be on the front edge of home plate. And what would happen if you hit it a little sooner? It would be well out in front of home plate. Gigantic difference between those three contact points. Now this pitch is up and away, So the perfect contact point is here. Why? Because that's the place where he is mechanically efficient. Again, notice front leg is locked, front arm is locked, back foot completely released, and he hits arguably one of the hardest home runs ever hit. Thing went about 12 feet off the ground, all the way over the right field fence easily. But this is a mechanically sound swing, 100% on time to an outside pitch, and it's hit very deep. So let's look at a different one, and this one is out over the plate, in the middle of the plate, and again, lead arm extended, front leg locked, backside released. This one went 447 feet, and let's take a look. Again, this one is just a hair early, but it goes to center field, so we know it has to be pretty close to exactly 100% on time. But if he were late on this pitch, he could hit it all the way back here and still hit it to right. This area where he's at, somewhere in here, is to center. And if he were to hit it all the way out here, this one goes to left. So very distinctly different places that hitters make contact and remain 100% efficient. That's the caveat. Now this is a pitch that's a little more in. It's out over the plate still, but it's a little more towards the inside. You can see where the catcher's reaching. It's the inner third for sure. And this is a huge bomb. And where does he make contact? Way out in front. Is he making a short, compact swing? No. He's got a completely barred lead arm. He keeps his hands inside the ball. He's released his back foot completely. He locks out his front leg. He's completely extended. He's made the longest possible swing that he can physically make, and he hits a mammoth bomb. Now, why we aren't teaching this around the country, I have no idea. But if we're going to argue about effective velocity, then we better get our facts straight. Contact point, contact point, contact point. Very different. Every one of those has a different time, a different reaction time.